Welcome everyone to another edition of Play It Through, and on this edition it's The Karate Kid, brought to us by LJN. The Karate Kid is actually based on the plot from the first and second Karate Kid films. Karate Kid is a pretty short and simple action game. However, due to some of the gameplay mechanics, it ends up falling short and being just a mediocre or bad game. As you begin the game, you can play 1 or 2 players or do a one-on-one versus match. The first level of the game is the Karate Tournament from Karate Kid 1. It is extremely simple in order to complete this. Usually I don't even move. I stand on the far left side, wait for them to walk towards me, and deliver a couple of kicks to them to deplete their health rather fast. You have 2 special moves. You have the crane kick and the drum punch. These are found usually by defeating certain enemies and using certain amounts of the moves during the normal levels. To use these moves, you stand still and press either the punch or kick button. While it does get a little bit harder with each of the enemies, overall, as long as your timing is pretty good, you can just stand still and let the enemies walk into your foot over and over again in order to complete the tournament. Once the tournament is done though, you end up in Okinawa, where it's time for the main portion of the game. After you do a certain amount of kills with your kick or punch, a letter C or D, depending upon what move you were using, will appear. The C being the crane kick and the D being the drum punch. Like I said before, to use these you just stand still and press the attack button. However, while continuing the walk, you will still use your basic punch or kick. One of the gameplay mechanics that's very weird is the fact that you can only have 2 enemies on screen at once. You can use this greatly to your advantage by keeping 2 enemies on screen behind you and continuing to walk forward the whole game, and no other enemies are actually able to spawn. Using this trick, especially later on in the game, will greatly help your chances of getting past the harder levels. The real worst thing about the game is every time you get hit, you get knocked backwards. And when you get 2 enemies near you and they can keep hitting you, you can end up bouncing between 2 enemies over and over again, draining your whole health very fast. As well as getting them knocked back into pits can be extremely annoying. At the end of each level, you must battle the Chosen. Just like the enemies from the tournament, I usually just let them walk into me and use my moves. Usually one of my special moves at least gets used every time. The crane kick especially can do a lot of damage to him and defeat him rather quickly. As you begin the second level, you can see that the wind has now really picked up and there's rain coming down as long as flying debris, as birds, sticks, and other objects will start flying towards you. These are just as annoying as the enemies, as they can knock you back as well. And usually during this part, it's best to have the 2 enemies on screen and continue walking while trying to avoid as many of those flying objects as you can. In the game, there is 3 minigames also to complete. To find these minigames, they are spread out throughout each level, usually in open doorways. The first I'm going to do is the swinging hammer, which you must face the hammer and press the punch button at the right time to do a dodge in order to avoid the hammer. You do this 6 times and you're able to get a perfect score, which will give you a bonus of extra points as well as extra moves. The second bonus stage is the chopstick fly catch. Move Daniel back and forth, and when a fly gets in between the chopsticks, close them together to catch the flies. If you're able to collect all 6 of the flies before the timer goes up, you get another 5,000 bonus points and some extra moves. You can see on your map in the upper left corner of the screen by looking at the white arrow to tell how much farther in the level you have to go before you're able to complete it. At the end of the stage, defeat the last couple enemies, and then battle the Chosen once again, using either your drum punches or your crane kicks in order to defeat him. Once he's done, however, you have to climb up in order to complete the stage. Stage 4 is the final fight against the Chosen. As you can see, you now have a few different types of enemies, as we have enemies that carry spears in this level. If they run into you, or you hit them once, they will drop the spear, and then you're just a normal enemy to take out. Down here, I'll complete the last bonus stage of the ice brick block. Press the attack button once your life gauge is filled up near the top in order to break all 6 of the ice blocks in order to complete it and get your bonuses. In this level, since the enemies actually take multiple hits in order to defeat them, and there's a lot of jumping, and with the jumping in the game, it's a little bit hard to hit enemies on higher platforms. If you're going to do the trick of having 2 enemies on screen, this is probably the level to do it in. Usually I like to keep at least 1 on screen, and only have to deal with 1 other one. Try to do your best to also watch out for the rolling boulders, as they seemingly are able to roll through all the scenery and gaps to chase you all around the screen until they're finally able to get past you or run into you. When you reach the end, jump to the platform, and then walk all the way to the opposite end because the enemy can fall into the pit, and if he does, he just keeps respawning. Use your drum punches or your crane kicks to take him out, and enjoy this great ending. So as Mr. Miyagi winks at you and congratulates you for completing the game, we have our The End screen, and that completes Karate Kid. And with that, that's going to wrap up this edition of Play It Through. I'd like to thank you for watching, and of course, I hope you enjoyed.